how can this be possible? Because there's the man in prison, Vincent Preston Nelson, and then you say you were at the hospital.
Because, ma'am, I am Vincent Preston Nelson. Yes, I am. And I have evidence to prove to you right now today.
I always feel alone. I cry myself to sleep every night because I don't have anyone.
No, you don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna step up and do what I gotta do. My job is to protect you and to love you, to show you how a man's supposed to treat you, you know.
This episode kicks off with some spicy family drama that's about to take a turn into wait, what territory? Things start intense, and trust me, it only gets wilder from here.
Mr. Jennings, after raising your daughter Taylor for 26 years, from diapers to adulthood, and never doubting paternity of your little girl, you are furious that you had to drag your ex-wife to court because she is now claiming you are not her daughter's biological father.
Okay, so this is where the weirdness goes up a notch. Now everyone's pointing fingers, and the tension is so thick you could cut it with a plastic knife. But don't blink, because Taylor's memory is about to get challenged in a way you won't believe.
Just out of spite, jealousy.
Are you spiteful, Ms. Lynn?
No, first and foremost, if I was spiteful, I wouldn't be standing here right now, because my daughter asked me to be. And
so
as far
why?
As her being
Why?
13,
Why
I didn't
now?
tell her, his wife told her. She come to me and asked me if he was her dad because she said her stepmother told her that he was not.
If you thought this couldn't get crazier, buckle up. This is like the plot of a bad sitcom, but somehow it's real life. You'd think it couldn't get more awkward, but trust me, it does.
Tell me about the relationship.
We wanted to be together. We wanted to get married. All right, I was very young. My parents did not want us together at all. It was strictly forbidden. I ran away from home to be with him. And get married without my parents' signature was I had to be pregnant by Georgia law.
Now we're diving into who did what when territory, and it's a mess. They're literally arguing over geography and calendars. But honestly, neither side sounds totally sure. And just when you think you've got a handle on things, another twist jumps out of nowhere.
We got together. Parents prohibited us being together, so we leave and we go out of state.
So you moved to Alabama?
Law don't come up there. They know better than come on top of the mountain up there, so there was no chance of getting
Oh, you
caught.
went up on top of the mountain where the law don't come.
Yeah, they've been shot at so many times up there.
Make sure I don't go up on that mountain.
Here's where it goes from messy to what even is happening. Ms. Lynn says she told Mr. Jennings way back when Taylor was a baby that there were other guys who might be the father. And just wait till Taylor herself drops her feelings about all this.
Ms. Lynn, did you ever tell Mr. Jennings that you had also slept with other men, or did you just keep that?
Yes, ma'am, and he was well aware, because when Taylor was about a month and a half, 2 months old, one of the potential fathers, we sat down with him and discussed having a DNA test done then, but it was never done. So he can't say he did not know.
This part will hit you right in the feels, but also Taylor's honesty is kind of brutal, and it doesn't end there. She takes things into her own hands when she grows up.
Like I felt my whole life was a lie, like my whole life was like over, you know?
Did you say something?
To my dad and my stepmom, because that's where I was dropped off at. They comforted me. My aunt was like, I was around when your mom got pregnant, so he is your dad. They like comfort me to think, but I'm like, my whole life's over, because if, you know, a man thought he might not be the dad, most time he's not gonna stay, you know?
Taylor is like, fine, I'll figure this out myself, and dives into some next level detective work on social media. It's a wild ride, but now the DNA test is about to spill the real tea, and no one's ready for what's coming.
I'd asked her, and she didn't tell me anything. She went to her room, said, okay, well, I'm gonna go through people I remember as being her childhood friends. At the time, I'm living in Tennessee, so I go through her friends list. I, you know, just think of people that were around. And the first person I write, I ask him, and he says, it's me. That's his exact words.
Really?
Here it is, the moment of truth.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Jennings, you are not the father. I'm very sorry, Taylor. I know this was not the news you wanted.
This case kicks off with a bang, and you can already tell it's going to be a wild ride. Things are about to get messy, and trust me, you're not ready for what's coming.
This is Wesley. He suffers from a severe case of autism. He's being raised by his grandmother and barely knows his mother and his father. The results of today's paternity test will help determine the course of his future.
Okay, now it's time to hear Mr. Marsh's side, and it's a lot to take in. This part's already heated, but wait until we hear why he says he walked away.
Mr. Marsh, you are listed on Wesley's birth certificate as his dad.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you claim his biological father is actually his his mother's neighbor. Now, you both have been tested and we'll hear the result shortly. Now,
oh boy, things are getting personal, and it's starting to sound like a soap opera. Jeremy even says he told Mr. Marsh flat out not to sign the papers unless he was sure. Just wait though, it gets even messier when a certain neighbor enters the picture.
With my son that is here and asked him, I know that that's my grandchild, but how do you know that that baby's yours? I told him twice before my grandchild was born. When he was questioning because my grandson was dark, because my family is Puerto Rican, I said, don't sign his birth certificate. And he signed it anyway.
at that time you didn't, so you signed it.
I was 17. I was young and dumb and in love.
Okay, plot twist alert. Mr. Marsh thinks a neighbor might actually be Wesley's dad. This is like the Jerry Springer of paternity court, and it's only getting crazier.
Yeah, he looks like one of the neighbor kids that we went to high school with that she spent an awful lot of time with, other than who lived a mile down the road where I was living at. Spent an awful lot of time over at his house versus at my house.
And you believe that this neighbor could be biological father?
Yes, Your Honor.
And just when you thought it couldn't get more awkward, Mr. Marsh's mom steps in with her take. At this point, you've got to wonder who's telling the truth and who's just throwing shade.
When I saw that baby in the hospital, the first time I looked at it, I went, that's not ours.
Wow.
We are Anglo-Saxon and Scandinavian. I've got the darkest hair in our family, and the rest of my kids are white and blonde. My grandchildren are all white and blonde.
Now, if you thought things were bad, just wait till you hear about the custody drama. And just when you think this story can't get any more heartbreaking, the missing mom sends a video message.
Your Honor, my daughter was living with me when she gave birth to my grandson. Home for about 2.5 months with me and my husband. Had told us she was going for a pack of cigarettes and never came back. You take this baby or you sign him over to me because I can't do this by myself. I need help from the state. In April of 2008, she signed a power of attorney that we took and went and had taken care of so that I had legal custody of Wesley.
Here's the part where Jolene finally says something, but it's not exactly inspiring. Mrs. Maldonado is clearly over it and calls out both Jolene and Mr. Marsh for leaving her to raise Wesley alone. And now, with the DNA results looming, things are about to hit the fan.
Hi, Jolene, Wes's mother, has been denying my son. Last time he saw him was the fall of 2008. He never bought him any diapers. That is unacceptable and unacceptable. Quit denying your son. And when Paternity test comes back positive, I hope and pray you get what you deserve.
All right, here's the moment we've all been waiting for, and it's a doozy.
Maldonado, Neely, and whether Mr. Marsh or Wesley's mother's neighbor is his father, Mr. Marsh, you are father.
Does that mean I get my rights to him?
Wow, this kicks off with more drama than a soap opera at lunchtime. It's already messy, and we're just getting started. Buckle up because the family tea is about to spill all over the place.
Miss Fuel, you say that Mr. Burnett is refusing to admit that he is your biological father. You say the only reason he's denying you is because he would rather drag your mother's name through the mud than take responsibility for his actions.
If you thought things were intense, this part hits you right in the feelings. It's clear she just wants answers and some peace in her life. But hang tight because Mr. Burnett is not about to make this easy.
Well, Your Honor, in September of 2015, my brother was murdered. That really opened my eyes. I mean, I went through a deep, dark depression. I've lost 90 pounds just off of depression and stress, and it's opening my eyes. Life is really short. I shouldn't even be here. I shouldn't even have to bring him here to prove that he's my father.
Here's where things get real weird. Mr. Burnett says he didn't even hear about these claims until 2 years ago, acting all shocked like it's a random pop quiz. Somebody's lying here, and it's giving off some serious Maury vibes. Keep watching because the insults start flying fast.
I don't have no idea really why. You know, she's been my niece.
So when were you told that she believed you potentially could be?
I've never heard of it until like about 2 years ago.
Really? You didn't talk to my mom when I was a kid?
Never talked to your mom about nothing until about 2 years ago. I was told by a family member that she looks like my family.
This part is straight up savage. Mr. Burnett goes off, calling Miss Fuel's mom the neighborhood girl and saying he wasn't the only guy in line. And just wait, because now he's got another theory about who the dad might be.
Her mom was the one that's known as the neighborhood girl. Everybody slept with her mom. All my friends did.
So you did sleep with her mother?
I did, amongst 20 of my friends.
So
how do you know that? Were you there?
They told me.
Do you know whether it occurred during the window of conception?
No.
It didn't?
Not to my knowledge, no way.
Plot twist. Mr. Burnett throws out that some random white dude was rumored to be her dad, like it's an episode of CSI Paternity. Stick around because things are about to get even more public, and not in a good way.
Yeah, there's a white dude that said was the daddy.
You all kind of just said, all right, then it's his. Phil, did you ever hear about this gentleman being the person everyone thought was your father in the beginning?
Yes, Your Honor, he was a possibility, but clearly I'm not mixed.
Who's giving you information?
As an adult, I asked my mom.
Oh boy, now they've taken the family drama to Facebook, because of course they have. This is the internet at its worst, but it's also kind of hilarious. And next, Miss Fuel starts pouring her heart out. Things are getting personal.
Your Honor, mind you, this is 2 days after my brother's murderers were captured. So of course I'm in my emotions, of course I'm in my feelings, and yes, I did badger him on Facebook.
After all these years, does it really matter? Yes, it does. Who to blame for my childhood, all the suffering I had to go through? Because I have siblings I don't know. I'ma prove you wrong, Walter.
If you thought the Facebook feud was intense, Miss Fuel's testimony is next level. It's heartbreaking, but also awkward because Mr. Burnett is acting like he doesn't care. But now, someone else steps in to share their 2 cents. And it's about to get even wilder.
We never had no bitterness in our life ever, other than this, what's going on right here. I ain't got no harsh feelings towards her.
Burnett, because of what she's been told, she believes you're her father, and when you speak to her, it feels like she's being rejected.
That's just like me saying that he's my uncle.
No one in your family, no one close to you, no one you love and trust.
Enter Mr. Burnett's actual daughter, Miss Johnson, and things get even juicier. This testimony makes him look shady, but Miss Fuel is still holding on to hope. Next, she brings the feels again with an emotional plea that will make you tear up and laugh at the same time.
No, I knew of her because, like they said, they married into my family, but that's it. I knew who she was. I've never had any contact with her, like maybe like a barbecue or something where she was at.
You weren't cousins, you didn't hang out together, none of that. But you've never heard any rumors or things that your father could potentially be her biological father as well?
No, ma'am.
Get ready to grab a tissue because Miss Fuel is not holding back. It's emotional, raw, and kind of hard to watch because you know she's telling the truth. The moment we've all been waiting for, the DNA results, are up next, and you won't believe what happens.
With these other 3 kids, he even took care of a child that wasn't his. I'm a possibility, so why didn't you at least try to find out? But you over here taking care of another chick's baby that ain't yours, but you want to keep telling me, oh, your mama this, your mama that. Why didn't you try if you knew it was a possibility? Stand up and be a man for your kids. That's your history. You're worse than her. Okay. No, it's not.
The results are in, and this is where everything flips upside down.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Burnett, you are not her father.
Ms. Smethers drags Mr. Stevens to court, saying she's sick of him denying he's her son Adrian's dad. Meanwhile, Mr. Stevens is out here saying, look at this baby and look at me. No way I'm the dad. And just like that, we're diving headfirst into Dramaville. But trust me, it's only gonna get messier from here.
Ms. Smethers, you have dragged the defendant to court because you are devastated that he refuses to accept that he is your son Adrian's biological father. You claim today's DNA test results will have a dramatic impact on your future as a family.
Ms. Smethers and Mr. Stevens started dating as teens and eventually had kids, but things didn't stay cute for long. It's a never-ending blame game that sounds exhausting, and we're only just warming up for the real tea.
Me and Mr. Stevens met when I was 16 years old. We went to GED classes together. We eventually started dating. I moved in with them, and we had our first daughter. Mr. Stevens started cheating on me. I was always at home with the baby.
Because, like, for example, like, I would go through her phone. She would have messages erased and messages that didn't make sense. Type in a letter, or you can go to the recent search.
When Ms. Smethers first told Mr. Stevens she was pregnant, he was thrilled until she dropped a bomb 5 months later. She'd been with someone else. Imagine thinking you're gonna be a dad, and then bam, you might not be. Yeah, things are already awkward, but it's about to get even more cringe.
Find out you're pregnant, you tell Mr. Stevens?
Yes.
What was his response?
He was happy.
I was happy. And the aspect is like, you know, she was pregnant, but she waited 5 months to tell me that there was a possibility that he wasn't. I was excited about that. You know, like I wanted a first child, like as a boy, that's what my 2 daughters were supposed to be.
Ms. Smethers says Adrian was conceived on her birthday during a hotel party with Mr. Stevens. The more they talk, the more we wonder if anyone actually knows what's going on.
It was, my conception date was between October 7th and the 11th, or the 12th. My birthday was the 11th. We had a hotel party. He was conceived that night.
But we had a little bit kind of did it before her birthday. We ended up meeting somewhere, and that was the first time it happened. And then about a week and a half goes by, and then it was her birthday.
Mr. Stevens is stuck on the fact that Adrian has lighter skin than his other kids, and he just can't let it go. Ms. Smethers fires back, basically saying, genetics is weird, get over it. This is the kind of argument that's only gonna lead to more squabbling. And oh boy, does it.
So what is Mr. Stevens Stevens' relationship like with Adrian?
He's a good dad to him. He takes him, you know, when he takes the other two. He's always acted like a father figure to him. He's just had his doubts. He always comes out and says, like, he's too white, he can't be my baby. I mean, he still stepped up and took the father role.
Mr. Stevens says he's been there for Adrian even though he's had doubts since day one. He makes sure to treat Adrian the same as his other kids, even though he's secretly wondering, is this my kid or not? It's emotional, but you just know it's not going to stay calm for long.
You know, like, it would be wrong for me, though, like, to have my two kids and still be able to doubt that he's not mine and treat him different. Like, that would be unfair. And, like, you know, like, my stepdad, he didn't really have to raise me, but he did, so no one should have their back turned on him, so.
That is commendable of you, because we don't often see that in this courtroom. Sometimes he doesn't want to get close to a child. He doesn't want to bond, so.
Mr. Stevens admits he didn't sign the birth certificate because of his doubts, but Ms. Smethers says that's not true. It was just bad timing. Either way, it's clear they've got trust issues on top of everything else. Spoiler alert, a friend is about to make this even messier.
Did you sign the birth certificate?
No, ma'am, because I had doubts that AJ wasn't mine then. I don't know, like, I love her, so I want to give her the benefit of the doubt.
That's not what he told me. The social worker had to be there to be the notary, but he was constantly telling me when we were in the hospital that he was gonna sign it.
So were you making up excuses, Mr. Stevens, to avoid executing the birth certificate?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Smethers' best friend, Ms. Craig, tells the court that Ms. Smethers once said she wasn't sure if Mr. Stevens was the dad. Of course, Ms. Smethers denies it, calling her friend a liar. Meanwhile, Mr. Stevens is like, see? I knew it. And now it's officially a courtroom circus.
I know that Mr. Stevens has had doubts about Adrian belonging to him. She has said that she had doubts.
That's not true.
Well, why would she sit up here and lie? She's your friend.
I have no idea why she's lying.
I mean, she had expressed to me, we had a conversation that she had some doubts that Josh was the biological father.
The DNA results come back, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Stevens, you are the father.
This is already a wild start to the story. Miss Nelson thought her dad was some guy in prison, even visiting him all the time. Oh, and then a random man shows up on Facebook saying, hey, I'm your dad too. If you think this is confusing, buckle up. It's just getting started.
Believing one man was your father, yet had another man listed on your birth certificate. 30 years old, a third man, the defendant, suddenly contacted you on Facebook claiming he was your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Today you say you hope DNA test results finally reveal the truth.
This part is just plain heartbreaking. Miss Nelson says her mom would drag her to visit the guy she thought was her dad in prison, weekend after weekend. Imagine learning all this as an adult, mind blown. And guess what? The plot only thickens from here.
My whole life knowing a different man was my dad. It was a man that was in prison. My mother took me to visit him after week, and this is the man I grew up knowing, to visit this man for 2 weeks. He told me that this other man was on my birth certificate because my mom didn't want somebody like him in my life, because he was in and out of prison.
Okay, now it's just getting weird. Miss Nelson gets a random Facebook message from some guy named Christopher Lancaster who claims he's her dad. But wait till you hear who's actually behind this message. It's bananas.
I got a message from a man named Christopher Lancaster saying that I'm your dad. He was sorry for not being in my life. He now wants to be in my life. I contacted both those numbers. Both the numbers were disconnected. He had left me the message. It was in my others box on Facebook. That's how he messaged me on Facebook.
This twist is like something out of a soap opera. Why? Because in his words, he didn't want certain people finding him. He says he's been searching for Miss Nelson for years, but trust me, the bombshells aren't over yet.
I put that message on Facebook. The reason being, I had problems with other people in my life, so I didn't want to use my real, so I made up a Facebook page of Christopher Lancaster. So I always was looking for her. I remember her birthdays.
Get ready for some old school drama. He even says he was at the hospital when Miss Nelson was born, but her family cut ties with him because he wouldn't join their religion. Sounds kind of sweet until you realize what's coming up next.
When her mother water broke, my mother took her to the hospital. As far as like a religion thing, and I didn't want to commit towards the religion thing because I feel a family took her away from me and moved her somewhere else, and I never heard from them again.
Boom. Man in court drops a mic-worthy moment. I am Vincent Preston Nelson. Just when you think things can't get crazier, Miss Nelson's mom enters the chat and it's about to go down.
How can this be possible? Because there's the man in prison, and then you say you were at the hospital.
Because, ma'am, I am Vincent Preston Nelson. Yes, I am. And I have evidence to prove to you right now today.
This part is like watching a family group chat explode. Miss Nelson, though, says the prisoner told her himself, and that's who she believed. Meanwhile, her mom's like, not my fault, and Mr. Sterling is over here remembering one of the last times he saw his daughter. Spoiler, it involves French fries.
And against her my other family's wishes, who she was staying with, she snuck and went to see this man.
But Ms. Nelson, you felt like you were led to believe it because he said, I'm your father.
Took me out of your life and said, I cannot be a part of your life because I'm in and out of jail. Family did not want me to have a relationship with him.
Grab some tissues because this one's rough. Mr. Sterling gets teary-eyed as he recalls the last time he saw Miss Nelson when she was just a little girl. It's super emotional, but don't worry, we're about to meet his other daughter, and she's got a lot to say.
We was in Coney Island at Nathan's. I bought her French fries. Yeah. That's time I seen my daughter. I remember her birthday, July 25th. Every year, she's 23 years old. When she was born, I told her she had an older sister. Am I lying?
Talk about awkward family reunions. Amberlynn Sterling, Mr. Sterling's other daughter, says she's been told her whole life that she had an older sister. Don't worry, Amberlynn. Things are about to get crystal clear.
Do you believe Miss Nelson is your sister?
I want to believe it. There's a slight doubt, but I don't know. I have no idea. I would like to know. I would like her to be my sister. I've been told my whole life, but I've never met her, and I feel like if that was my sister, why wasn't it a connect?
This moment is straight out of a reality show finale.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Sterling, you are her father.
The case kicks off with Mr. Jenkins, confidently saying he found his long-lost daughter, Andrea Bond. But here's the kicker. Andrea's all like, who? Never heard of this dude in my life. The court sets the stage to figure out if this guy is for real or just chasing a wild dream. Spoiler, it gets weirder from here.
Mr. Jenkins, you reached out to the court to open a case. You believe that you have a long-lost daughter and hope to one day find her to prove you are her father. So we've located the woman you believe is your daughter, and she's here in court today.
She tells us how her life flipped upside down when both her parents died in a car accident back in '99. Just wait till you hear what he says next. It's a mix of heartbreak and a little bit of awkward.
He died in a car accident in 1999 with my mother, and I believe that that was my father.
So, Ms. Bond, ultimately, you come to court today completely in the dark.
Yes, Your Honor.
You don't have any information.
No information.
No one's ever told you anything.
No one's ever told me anything.
And Mr. Jenkins,
Yes.
You have known about this young woman.
He starts reminiscing about Andrea's mom, calling her banging and going on about her big back porch like it's a high school crush. Andrea's like, cool story, but where were you my whole life? And trust me, it only gets more awkward when Andrea explains her struggles growing up.
Me and her mother was in college together. I'm telling you, she was banging. I mean, she was bad. I mean, she had a nice big back porch on her. She had this pink jumpsuit on. She was like Lena Horne to me, you know.
Aw.
She was fine. Light brown eyes. Miss Bond looked just like her.
Andrea breaks down, talking about how she felt alone after losing her parents, crying herself to sleep because she didn't have anyone to guide her. But Andrea's not buying it just yet, and the room gets real tense as the court dives into what Mr. Jenkins did or didn't do over the years.
Raised yourself with the help of family, but you felt alone.
I always feel alone. I cry myself to sleep every night because I don't have anyone.
No, you don't have to worry about it. I'm gonna step up and do what I gotta do. My job is to protect you and to love you, to show you how a man's supposed to treat you, you know.
Mr. Jenkins says he's been hunting for Andrea for 24 years, knocking on doors, Googling, and even trying social media. And just when you think it couldn't get more intense, a tragic bombshell drops.
I used to go over one of your family members' house. I used to come over there every Christmas. I knocked on doors. I'd like to submit one more thing to the court.
I have a Facebook page. If you went for social media, you could have found me.
I did everything I could do. I've been looking for you over 24 years. That's one of your numbers that I had contacted.
Mr. Jenkins explains how Andrea's mom called him, letting him know he'd finally get to see Andrea. But then a week later, he got news about the fatal car crash. The room is heavy, emotions are high, and everyone's just staring at each other like, what now? Well, what's next is Mr. Jenkins trying to explain why it took him 24 years to get here.
I talked to her on the phone, and the next week or so, I'll let you see Andrea, how she's doing. A week later, I called her back at that number. Heard some bad news that she was in a bad car accident. Here we go again. Now it's starting all over again.
She got killed in the car accident. You could have came to the funeral.
I was cut off from the funeral.
I still don't feel like you're my father. I'm sorry.
Mr. Jenkins says a big reason he started searching again was because Prince died without leaving his estate to anyone. But don't worry, the DNA results are about to drop like a mic at a rap battle.
Not just a while back, music artist Prince had died. He didn't have any estate or nothing to leave any of his stuff to.
So when you look at Mr. Jenkins, Miss Bond,
and you look at him, do you see yourself at all? Do you say, I kind of feel like I look like him?
I look more like him to me, in my opinion.
Judge Lake reads the DNA results, and guess what?
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Jenkins, you are her father.